Live on 5 News and streaming on 5 Plus, this is a Weather Impact Alert.
All right, good morning from 5 News. I'm meteorologist Stephen Elmore. It's been a busy day so far. Weather impact alert for us today. That's because for this morning, we had the chances of some really strong thunderstorms that could bring some hail, that could bring some strong winds, but also that flooding concern as well. Early this morning, if you were up early enough, we had some pretty loud thunderstorms across the river valley, eventually evolved in northwest Arkansas. For a while there, we did have some hail coming down as well. That prompted a few severe thunderstorm warnings. But since then, really, this has become more of a flooding concern, at least for part one. Again, part two of today is going to be coming by the time we get late this afternoon into the early evening hours. That's when the threat comes back. Another chance of some thunderstorms, another chance of some severe thunderstorms at that. And that highest risk is unfortunately going to be that tornado risk. And we've got a few updates for that as well. We'll cover that here in just the next couple of minutes. Here's a look at a rough estimate at the past 12 hours, how much rainfall we have picked up. You got those alerts on your phone for that flash flood warning a little bit earlier, about an hour ago, across parts of LaFleur, into Sequoia, into Crawford, Washington, even parts of Madison and Benton County. You can see that highlighted there in that yellow and orange, where really we had a line of thunderstorms that was just trailing over the same area. So again, a rough estimate of some of the heaviest rainfall that we saw. Anywhere between 2 up to 3 inches of rainfall in some spots. Again, that crossed over right over parts of 49 as well. That caused some impacts there. We had multiple accidents today, unfortunately. Still, a lot of folks dealing with some heavy rainfall right now, especially across northwest Arkansas. We take a look at radar right now. Again, nothing in the way of severe weather as it stands, but some flooding concerns. Again, those flooding concerns not only for today, but for most of our Saturday as well, even into Sunday morning. That's when that flood watch goes out into. So we have that flash flood warning across parts of Sequoia into LaFleur County and then parts of northwest Arkansas as well. Here's a look at radar right now. A lot of thunderstorms out there right now, just remaining below that severe limit. A few scattered showers moving into parts of Carroll County, Benton County, Washington County, but parts of Washington County and Madison County pretty quiet right now. Most of that activity is further out towards the west and eastern Oklahoma. Across the river valley, pretty quiet out there right now. Sure, a few scattered showers here and there, but a world's difference from what we had this morning when we had those widespread thunderstorms, waking up very early this morning, unfortunately, because it was just loud out there. A few places got that hail as well. So again, this is part one of the system. Now we're going to enter into that lull, at least a little bit of a lull, before we get to the late afternoon into the early evening hours. And that's when part two of today is going to come in the way of some more strong to severe thunderstorms. Unfortunately, that highest risk for this evening is going to be the chances for a few tornadoes. But the location of which those tornadoes could happen changing a little bit over the past 12 hours or so. So let's take a look at our current watches. We did have that severe thunderstorm watch all the way out until 11 a.m. Most of northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, that was canceled early, about 30 minutes to 45 minutes ago. Johnson, Logan, Scott counties, that was allowed to expire at 11 a.m. So now, no longer that severe thunderstorm watch. We have that flood watch, of course, that goes out until Sunday morning, though. I have a sneaky suspicion, though, that by the time we get to the afternoon, into the early evening hours, we could have another watch, but maybe in the way of a tornado watch. That's what I'm expecting later on today. We do have that level 4 out of 5 risk for severe weather today, mainly across parts of the River Valley, Johnson, Logan, Scott, into Franklin, parts of Sebastian, into southern LaFleur County. And this is specifically highlighting the threat for tornadoes for today. So let's break down those threats. Here's a graphic that shows you pretty perfectly. Again, that hail and wind threat so far has been predominantly for the morning hours. That's when we had some hail, but we can still see some larger hailstones even this late afternoon into the early evening hours. That hatch zone means that we could see, if we do get hail, it could be pretty large hail at that. Really, the concern, though, for this late afternoon into the evening hours is going to be that tornado threat. Northwest Arkansas, I tell you what, the fuel available for those storms not looking impressive for this afternoon into the evening hours. It's still something that we have to keep our eye on, but a lot of the storm fuel, a lot of the instability is going to be across the River Valley, and even at that, it's going to be further south and east you live. Johnson, Logan, Scott, parts of Franklin, parts of Sebastian, again into southern LaFleur County. That's where that main concern is going to be. Is there enough instability? Is there enough of a chance to have some not even severe thunderstorms back into the forecast, but also maybe a few tornadoes as well. That's the concern. That's why we have that enhanced risk painted there over those counties we just mentioned. You take a look at Futurecast. This is where we are right now. Those scattered thunderstorms across mainly northwest Arkansas, parts of the river valley as well. But by the time we get later on this afternoon, this is a look at 2:30. We're already starting to see a few of those thunderstorms pop up once again across eastern Oklahoma. This is where we get into that late afternoon hour into the early evening, and that's where we could have some thunderstorms back across our area. Now, again, in the way of who has the best chance of seeing the highest end threat for those tornadoes and that hail damage as well, the area of that changing a little bit, and we'll go over that here in just a second. Futurecast shows us this. By the time we get later on this afternoon, here's a look at 3:30, maybe starting to see some of these isolated thunderstorms popping up once again. And again, this is the area where that tornado risk would be highest at. But these models are never perfect, right? Well, let's just say this one was perfect, and this is exactly what it would look like. Where my concern would land is where we have these individual supercells at, that since they're out there all by themselves, they can rotate pretty quickly. That's unfortunately how we get some spin-up tornadoes that can happen very quickly and unfortunately stay on the ground then. So Futurecast continues to show us that by the time we get later on this, now into the evening hours, here's a look at 5 p.m. Now we're really starting to feed into some of that instability. Again, further south and east you live, Johnson, Logan, Scott counties, that's going to have the best chance. But even parts of eastern Madison County as well, into Carroll County, yeah, sure, we can have some of those thunderstorms building in there, but I don't know if we have enough of that storm fuel to feed into those thunderstorms to keep them going. Definitely the highest risk for today was always central Arkansas, Little Rock area. Unfortunately, you'll see here in a second when we show you that storm fuel, highest in central parts of the state. But further south and east you live, Johnson, Logan, Scott County, that's where we're going to have some of that instability as well. Definitely the chances of seeing a few of those tornadoes as well. Futurecast continues to show us that by the time we get later on this evening, 8, 9 o'clock, most of that is out of here. And then we enter into another lull, but unfortunately, Saturday, more of those rain chances come back into the forecast. Good news is the severe limit is very low for the start of the weekend, but what can be just as dangerous is that flooding risk. And we have that flooding risk right now. We're already starting to see some low-lying areas starting to flood already. But I really do think if we have one day out of this week where that flooding risk is going to be highest, it's unfortunately going to be for your Saturday morning. Let's focus once again on that highest level threat painted by the Storm Prediction Center, which is that tornado risk for today. Again, this picks up late afternoon into the early evening hours. We just showed you on Futurecast closer towards 3 p.m. and then pushing into the rest of the evening hours. Where the most instability, where the most fuel is going to be is pretty much everything you see shaded in red here, that 15%, that enhanced risk area. That's where we're going to be having that warm front come across parts of the river valley and allowing to bring in what's called that warm sector. And that's where we can get some of those spin-up tornadoes. These black lines that you see there on your screen, you're saying, what is that? That's not highlighted here. Well, those black lines mean if we were to get some rotation and there ended up being a tornado, that it could be on the larger side of things. We're talking maybe EF2, F3 plus. That's just what that's highlighting there. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but that's just saying, hey, this environment, that could definitely happen there. Again, I want to highlight the area of concern here. We're going to be watching parts of south of I-40, across the river valley, very closely here. But if you're watching right now from northwest Arkansas, your threat is definitely not zero, but you see how much lower it is. Parts of Benton County not even included in that risk from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, doesn't mean that it's zero, but it's lower. You have that level, or that 2% chance, that 5% chance, that 10% chance pretty quickly, though, building into parts of northwest Arkansas. So this is going to be the evolution of those storms as they continue to press off towards into parts of the river valley, especially further east you live. That's where we could really get out of control very quickly if the storm fuel is there, right? That's not a guarantee either. If it ends up being a problem this afternoon, then we could get out of hand. But does that warm sector move into our area farther north enough to allow that instability back in there? That's still some question marks in there. Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert He's going to be covering those storms later on this evening as well, and letting you know where is that highest risk at right now. How are we looking going into the late afternoon, early evening hours? Here's a look at that storm fuel, and then this is what I'm talking about. Changes over the past, let's say, 24 hours or so. Yesterday, we were seeing this storm fuel map, and it was showing us that storm fuel could get all the way up into northwest Arkansas, and then we were going to have some big problems on our hands. But now some changes in the forecast, and again, there's still some concern in there, a lot of concern at that as well, of there's going to be enough fuel at that to potentially result in some large hail, some damaging winds, maybe even a few spin-up tornadoes at that. But you see where that storm fuel is going to be greatest at. Again, want to keep on highlighting these areas to give you advance notice well ahead of time, because this is coming at a time of the day too where we want to make sure that we know where we're going in the late afternoon, early evening hours as well. We want to know where those storm shelters are just in case things get out of control here. Johnson, Logan, Scott, parts of Sebastian, especially south of parts of Crawford, south of I-40, Franklin County, and then into parts of LaFleur County as well. That's where that storm fuel is going to be greatest. I think at its peak, by the time we get closer towards 3, 4 p.m., even later on into the evening hours, that's where we see some of that storm fuel leaking into parts of northwest Arkansas, parts of Washington, parts of Madison. But again, the big change over the past 12 hours or so was that this storm fuel was showing that it can move all the way into northwest Arkansas. Now that warm sector, maybe not reaching as far north, mainly staying south of I-40. That's where the highest risk is going to be, south of I-40 and then western Arkansas. So again, the highest risk is definitely going to be parts of central Arkansas. We'll show you that here in a minute when we show you this tornado risk right here. Again, you see on this legend here that high and extreme risk. You see those colors starting to pop up. Man, across central Arkansas, that gets really high there. You look across our viewing area, though, across the river valley in northwest Arkansas, the risk is 100% still there. It's lower, but it's still there, and it's something that we are keeping our eyes on as we get into this afternoon, to the evening hours. Again, timeline here, here's a look at 2:30, that tornado risk. That's already building into parts of the river valley, and then that continues as we get into the evening hours, even late this evening, have that chance as well before this system moves on out of here and gets in and other parts of the state, unfortunately, that doesn't need that tornado risk once again. But unfortunately, as that stationary front is just sitting over central Arkansas, that's bringing us all this rain, that's bringing us all these storm chances as well. We told you days ago that we were going to have a multi-day severe weather chance, but also that flooding risk as well. Unfortunately, we're seeing that playing out right now. And we knew that Friday going into Saturday, that was going to be the highest chance we had for that flooding risk. Going into tomorrow, some real concerns. You live next to those creeks, those streams, those rivers. That's where things get out of hand already. Several places highlighted as the chance of seeing those high water already. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, is that flooding risk as well. So we've covered that tornado risk. Again, we've got you covered the rest of this afternoon into the evening hours. As long as we have that chance for severe weather, we're going to be here. But Futurecast shows us this. Once that threat's out of here, now everybody's heading to bed. It's overnight hours. It's pretty calm outside, actually. A few scattered showers start to work first, once again, across the river valley before evolving into northwest Arkansas. But once we get to sunrise on Saturday, that's when we get some heavy rainfall once again. And this, unfortunately, your morning hours for Saturday, more than likely going to be a washout for us. We get some heavy, heavy rainfall across northwest Arkansas, the river valley, even into eastern Oklahoma through Saturday morning, even heading into the afternoon hours, often on scattered showers expected throughout most of the day. It's not until Saturday evening that finally we get another break from that rain. But even going into Sunday morning, there's some chances of a few scattered showers here and there on the lighter side of things, but then we get much cooler. And unfortunately, this may be a surprise to some of you. Sunday morning, when we do get cooler, and there's still the chances of a few scattered showers, you probably know where I'm going with this. There's a chance we see some flurries across northwest Arkansas. Unfortunately, I don't like to say it either. I want to get into springtime too, but that's definitely a chance going into the end of the week. And I'm going to move this out of here. And we'll show you this timeline. Okay, rough timeline of the rest of the day today, but this has given us a pretty good idea. By the time we get later on this afternoon, again, entering into a bit of that lull, still some scattered showers out there, but definitely not what we saw similar to this morning. Once we get closer towards 3, 4, 5, even past that later on this evening, that's going to be the peak. That's where we're going to have the highest chances of those thunderstorms, the highest chances of that hail, that wind, and also watching out for some rotation as well. Then we get into late evening hours, and then we just start to see some of those scattered showers once again. That takes us into tomorrow morning, or 2, 3 in the morning, pretty quiet outside once again. But then once we get closer towards sunrise on our Saturday, that's when we get right back up into these high percentage chances of that heavy rainfall. And that continues throughout most of Saturday morning into the early afternoon. And that's where that flooding risk is going to be highest as well. This is, again, another rough estimate of okay, we've already picked up a lot of rainfall. At the beginning of this, we showed you just how much rainfall we've picked up so far in some places. But now, from where we are at right now, going through Sunday morning, this is kind of an idea. Anywhere from an additional 2 to 3, even 4 inches of rainfall will be possible in some places. Again, want to highlight those low-lying areas, those places next to creeks, streams, rivers, and I know we got a lot of those areas, Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Here's also just something to remind you of. If you're one of those neighborhoods, areas in a neighborhood, if you know you're close to one of those creeks that usually floods, one of those streams that usually floods, this is that type of event where if it usually floods, more than likely, that's what we're going to have on our hands by the time we get to the end of the weekend, if not already seeing some of that flooding right now. Again, here's that Futurecast model showing you that by the time we get to Sunday morning, much cooler air is going to be in. It's not going to be comfortable by the time we get to Sunday. Daytime highs right around those 50s. But in the morning hours, it's going to be chilly outside. We're talking 30s and 40s outside. If temperatures get cold enough across Northwest Arkansas, that's where we could, yes, see maybe just a few flurries here and there, not leading to much in the way of any accumulation, and mainly just across Northwest Arkansas. That is hopefully the last time I have to say flurries for a long time. Again, it's not even a guarantee that we do see it. We have to see temperatures drop close to that freezing point, but it's a chance that briefly we could transition over from some of that scattered rainfall over into some snowflakes going into Sunday morning. Northwest Arkansas over the next 7 days looks like this for you. Again, weather impact alert for today. You take a look outside right now. For some folks, it's pretty quiet out there. But again, late this afternoon, early evening hours, that's where we're going to build some of that instability back in. And we get the chances of seeing all those threats that we've talked about, with the highest threat, unfortunately, being that tornado risk. So that's why we have that weather impact alert for today, the flooding risk, but also the chance for more severe weather. Saturday, most of the day, much cooler outside and pretty much a washout from sunrise to sundown. Most of the rainfall, though, looks to be in the morning hours. By the time we get to Sunday, yes, there is a low chance, few scattered showers still left over. And because it's going to be much cooler outside, we could see a few snowflakes here and there. Not completely ruling that out. Not super confident in it either. I just think that if we briefly get close to 32, that's where you could see a few flurries flying around. But take a look at early next week. This is exactly what we need after the week we have had so far with all these rain chances, thunderstorm chances. I know you're getting tired out there saying another risk. You got to be kidding me. We can't keep going through this. Well, some good news is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even into Thursday, we'll slowly start to warm back up and see some sunshine back into the forecast across the River Valley. By the end of the week, I think we're back up into those upper 70s and low 80s. That's something to look forward to as early next week. Calmer pattern, at least. Across the River Valley, weather impact alert against some counties I want to highlight: Johnson, Logan, Scott, Franklin, parts of Sebastian, even parts of Crawford, even into southern LaFleur County. That's the area of concern for me. That's the area of concern that the National Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center is highlighting as well. Hey, you have the greatest chances of seeing a few tornadoes late this afternoon, early evening hours. That's definitely in the forecast still, even though we had some changes of where that highest risk would be, still focusing on that region. We get through today, whatever that may bring, and then unfortunately those rain chances continue for most of your Saturday morning and into Saturday afternoon. That's going to lead, especially those low-lying areas in the River Valley, that's going to lead to some flooding, unfortunately. I've already had those flash flood warnings in eastern Oklahoma. And I imagine a lot of those creeks, a lot of those rivers going to get pretty high over the next 24 hours to 48 hours or so. Sunday, much cooler, a few scattered showers in the morning hours. I don't think we have a chance across the River Valley. I don't think it's going to get anywhere close to 32 to see those flurries. So at least that's a positive sign. And then early next week is looking much better outside. So we get to relax a little bit, kick up our feet by the time we get to Monday, Tuesday, even into end of the week next week as well. I'm going to step off camera here for just a little bit and pull something up here. Let's go ahead and just show you, well, let's just do radar to wrap things up here. Give you a look at outside what things are looking at right now. All right, here's a look at radar. Time is 11:20. So of course we have our 5 News at noon. That's coming up in about 40 minutes. But also, if we are in the situation that we have severe weather later on today, once again, severe thunderstorm warning, hopefully not a tornado warning, you can immediately count on us being on our 5+ app, on our streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook, obviously on your Roku TVs, any streaming platform that you usually watch us on. That's where we're going to be if we have severe weather by the time we get to this afternoon to the evening hours, if we do have that severe weather. In the event of a tornado warning, that's when we would hop on to Channel 5. So if you're watching Channel 5 throughout the day, it's getting a little hairy outside, just those severe thunderstorm warnings, unless it is a high-end threat like large hailstones or extremely damaging winds. More than likely, we would stay on our streaming platforms and not break into programming unless it's that tornado threat. Doesn't mean we can't. We'll make that decision independently. Don't want to hurt your feelings that we're breaking into programming, but we'll do it if we have to. But you can always count on us being on those streaming platforms. Again, download those apps. Download our app, 5 News app. Download 5+ on your smart TVs. And throughout the afternoon into the evening, no matter what ends up happening, we're going to keep you up to date. We're going to let you know what's going on outside. Right now, as we stand before the noon hour, main concern for me before that next round of thunderstorms arrives is just going to be the flooding threat. Even during this live stream that we've done so far, you've seen another flash flood warning for parts of eastern Oklahoma into northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. So now all of northwest, or at least most of it outside of parts of Madison County, that's underneath that flash flood warning. Now we're getting some areas that have seen rainfall train over the same area over and over and over the past hour or plus or more. And so now we're having that flooding concern. Again, we're entering into a bit of a lull across the River Valley, but those thunderstorm chances, even if, I'm starting to see it right here. If we see some peaks of sunshine across portions of Logan and Scott and Johnson County, that's not great for us. That's going to build back in some of that instability for that round that comes in late this afternoon, early evening hours. Again, nothing's a guarantee here, just the ingredients would be in the right place at the right time to lead us to believe that severe chance is pretty high by the time we get later on for today. So again, we're going to be here on 5 News in case of that severe weather, but also our streaming platforms as well. So join us here. We hope you join us at least. Just make sure you know where everybody's at for today. You have that plan already in place. And if we need to give you that heads up of severe weather, absolutely we will give you that heads up. So for 5 News, I'm meteorologist Stephen Elmore. Thanks for joining us, and we'll check back in with you throughout the day today.